Yes. Hello. The door has closed behind you, and now you're here stuck with me. Congratulations, you have chosen. Whether it is poorly or well, that is yours to decide afterwards. I am Livia, or Reloy. I am beginning my fourth year of journalistic studies, and one of the things that I need to do when I am studying that is to be interested and curious about pretty much everything. And on this one, I've decided to help you also what I've learned on how to be interested about almost everything. Almost. I don't guarantee that you will be interested about everything after this, but for a lot of things, you might be. In a nutshell, so this lecture is focused on finding interest topics presented by other people, even if they wouldn't be on your very own interest. If you don't care about biology, but end up somehow on a lecture where they are figuring out the anatomy of little beetles, maybe you'll figure out ways how you could train yourself to maybe get curious about that thing. Basis of the lecture, bit of theory, what it is. And of course, we have to tackle a little bit of challenges. Why is sometimes being interested in topics so difficult? And a little bit of confidence boost at the end, because we all need that. And very happily practices that you can use in your daily life to learn how to be interested in things. And once you see the photographer kitty, you know that the slide is finished and you can take the picture, so you don't have to have your phone stuffed with multiple of, well, half-finished pictures. Let's start with a little bit of the difference between curiosity and interest. Curiosity is being interested or curious about what's going on in general. For example, I have an example creatures called Greg and Grook. Greg eats a mushroom and dies. Grook eats a mushroom and sees God for 5 weeks. Congratulations. That's someone in the village might be listening that like, oh, what's going on? Okay, they ate that? Oh, that happened? Oh, goodness. And they form opinions very fast on like, oh, I'm never going to do that. That's just horrifying to think you can't really know what happens. Ugh. But when it's interest, and we don't talk about money here, we talk about getting interested, it's figuring out, okay, why did that happen? Why did Grook die and Grook saw the god? That doesn't make sense. Was there something different? And it's more research than just lightly listening what's going on. And it's also, you have an urge to learn a bit more before you form an opinion if the mushrooms are good or bad. And I don't have a little sentence here that would also figure out that both that connects this is curiosity and interest spark when there is a topic that is somehow important. It can be in a name of surviving, for example, like during the history, how else would have human race survived besides telling others like, hey, don't eat that berry, that's bad, you know. And that also brings us to importance of listening. And frankly, this is something that I could talk for another lecture, but let's save that for someone else. So far, is there something, a bit of questioning between what is differences between curiosity and interest? I'm somewhat clear. We focus on the interest part here. That's the interesting part. Listening is something that human species did before writing and such, and before anything. You really wouldn't know that what berries would murder you if you wouldn't listen what was the details of them. Not all red berries are bad. Some are, and when you listen carefully, you learn which ones. And listening it's tricky. Very often we are taught actually how to perform listening. We are taught that you have to look people in the eyes, stand back straight and smile, nod, and say, oh yes, that sounds incredible. But that actually is a good idea to throw in the garbage bin by now, because everyone has their own way of listening. Some people simply listen better when they fidget something in their hand, others when they stare at wall, and someone maybe when they doodle a little bit of stars and hearts in the notebook. It is very different for everyone. And listening is a beautiful skill that you can talk with yourself all the time, but there is a high chance that with one person that you're talking at that moment, it can be the only time. Like the amount of history and stories I see in this room, it's incredible. I really would like to know everything. But I probably won't, and that saddens me actually quite plenty now that I think of it. And listening increases the empathy as well. It is shown on the brain scans as well that people who listen more, they tend to be more empathetic. They can relate a bit more. They can maybe think themselves a bit differently when they also, well, when they think others, they think of themselves. And gossips. They have a bad rap for being in a hallways, in some rooms, in how do you say that in English? In the palaces and everywhere, behind a fan, you're telling like, oh, did you heard what they did? Did you heard what those did? They are given often very negative view, when in truth gossips are actually around here especially, you can hear that they're ridiculously positive. Pretty much someone well, I can guarantee almost everyone in this room at some point may say somewhere that there is a stall selling good stuff, there is that lecture that was good, there is that was good. That's also a gossip. It's a different kind of, because it's positive. And yeah, listening is ridiculously difficult. I am not going to lie about that. It's absolutely horrible thing to try to practice from the emptiness. Because listening isn't just that nodding. It takes practice. And well, one of the things is that when you're listening, it often may turn that you're mainly waiting for your own turn to talk. When someone is telling you on how they had a rough day, you might be waiting for like, oh, I can't talk to him or talk to them on how I had a good day when I saw a little ladybug or something like that. But it actually is much more complicated than that. And I can highly recommend Kate Murphy's book, You're Not Listening, to read. It touches this very topic. And Kate Murphy, being a journalist, really knows what they are doing. It definitely widens the horizons and it has given me a lot of material for this lecture as well. Can highly recommend that book. I think this is the day where, well, the text hits in, and there is many of it, because now we get to the center of the little topic, which is finding interest in it. And first thing of it is to find your own way to follow the conversation. For some, it indeed may have been the doodling. For some, it might be looking at the walls. And some, it can vary. Sometimes when you look at the walls, you might feel that you can hear the topic better. But when you look at the person who is talking, you might relate to person a bit more. You might be able to see how they lit up when they're talking about something cool, or how they just feel even more frustrated because they don't like what they're having to talk to. It's figure out the way on how you follow the conversation the best. And neutral or positive listening attitude is handy. You can think as much as you want that the human are a absolutely horrible of a species, and yeah, it's okay to think that, because, well, frankly, it seems like that sometimes. But you can think that the individual that you see here is an unopened book of all the possibilities there are. It might be that that person just might be ridiculously cool with telling stories. They might have something incredible in their back pocket that, yeah, it's always worth to listen to individuals. And it's also very good to sometimes criticize and ponder 2 times whether it is worth of listening. But also do listen what other has to say. And that is in hello, nervousness, nice to meet you. Yes, the previously mentioned book it gives a good tips on how you actually can learn to listen. One way of that is ask, and ask. Ask more than you say sentences. It really brings the most out of the things. Of course, one question at a time. Because when there is a conversations, when you ask about the topic of whatever is in the matter, then it can lead to more. I'll later on show what it can lead to. It's enjoyable what it can become. But we are encouraged at the school to just ask about everything, especially on the reporters where we had to go somewhere and describe everything that there was around. We had to ask every single thing, even the most obvious thing we had to ask. And frankly, when you ask the most optional questions like, why is the sky blue? You might be surprised by the answer. Of course, it can be different. This is actually something that it's good that I remember now as well. Silence as a way of listening it's handy. Finns tend to have 8 seconds that they can stand silence. After that, they feel the need to say something. Someone has to say something or it starts feeling odd. But during those 8 seconds, there is the moments where you can think of what you just heard, where the other one can think what they have just told you. And that silence can really breed even more topics. It can make even the person who is telling things, it can make them think like, actually, I've never thought it that way. So silence is a very valuable asset. And observe. When someone, during the school we are forced sometimes to make lectures and group works about topics that are just dull. And it really shows on those performances. People are just mumbling, like, yeah, it's there, it says it right there, tap, 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 is it dinner yet? But when there is someone when they have finally the moment when they can talk of something that they like, for example, maybe introduce their favorite books, when you see the light that brings into that people, it's just, it's beautiful, actually. And when you observe, you can sometimes, when you practice it long enough, you might be able to figure out what is something that brings the light into a person. And when they have that light, then it really just starts glowing. And when the person is talking with passion of what they like and how it is like, it really easily can catch up to you. The positive mindset at the beginning is important on that because you're easier to learn than that way too. And what's your interest connection to this topic? I said in it earlier that the interest and curiosity both are connected with that they start from the need to, that it has to be important. So if you don't feel that this topic is important to me, then it's not too easy to find what is the connection. But when you think of it, for example, a lot of people here probably, this is Ropecon, I'm pretty sure almost all of here play role-playing games or at least are interested in those. Creating the new worlds, there's the Ropecon title this year. It's very healthy to, that way you can reset the thought. Thank you, I'm very nervous. When you know if there is something that connects you to the topic, it can make it more easier to listen to it and maybe to figure out the questions that you want to ask, the questions that you want to find the answers for. This is a very journalistic thing. We have to think about our target audience. If we are interviewing a golf player, if we are interviewing them on the sports topic, of course it has to be focused on the sports. And if we are interviewing them on the lifestyle magazine, of course we have to show them what they have lying in their clothing closets besides skeletons, and also some of those too, if possible. You can think it in a way that, is there something in this topic that I could tell to someone I know? For example, if you're listening a lecture about a geology, do you have maybe a friend who collects happy little shiny rocks? And then you could be able to figure out like, hey, this one has a little bit of geode in it. I am not good with stones. They would be actually interesting to learn now that I think of it. And hooks that catches your attention to the topic. The treasury of the listening comes here as well. When you listen, you're not talking. And when you're listening, you get what the other one is saying. A very happy example I have about this is maybe a week ago, there was a sports interview. They were interviewing a person who were talking about the environment that they had there. Like, oh yeah, this is a very good place to have a competition in. The place is nice, the people are very nice, toilet paper is good. The journalist immediately got their attention on that toilet paper because that's something that is really good hook. A lot of people know what toilet paper is. I was very happy when the interviewer also asked, where has it been worse? Because that's a good question. And yeah, the source that I have here is lecturer Taival Koske's lessons, mostly. So this is something behind the scenes. I indeed study at the Oulu University of Applied Sciences. I've been doing there quite well, according to the lecturer as well, so probably it's a good. So is there anything, ponders, thoughts, questions so far? No? On we roll. The challenges. Unsafe environment. You can't learn, you can't get interested in things if the surrounding is unsafe. That's when your mind goes into the, oh gosh, where is the exit? Where can I run off? What's the threats here? It goes to the primal mode of not safe. I need to be safe before I can learn or listen or put my attention to anywhere else. For example, if you're heavily bullied at school, it really can hit that you can't go there to learn because it's just a simple fight to survive all the time that you're sitting there. Ugh. So it's important to have the safe surrounding, which, for example, Ropecon is a good example of. Like around here, there is so far seen zero judgment about anything. So this is a good place where you can try to learn it. You know that door is always open. It's closed now, but it's not locked. There's people around. There is people who help you, so you're not alone in here. A negative starting point also matters quite plenty. It even comes from if you are listening to a person you don't like, then you immediately go it on the negative way, even if they would say it in the same way as someone who you find to be very interesting and good. But when you just dislike the person, for example, so heavily, you find it difficult to, get interested on what they say. In schools, you can prevent that situation, for example, by hoping to get in a course where there is other teacher. And, finding information from people that are not so bad rap can also be good. And the person just doesn't click. That also happens. And it's okay. Chemistry might be off, the way of talking it doesn't fit you, topic shift, maybe their energy is all over the roof and you're just trying to think the previous sentence first. What did they say it again? So it's good to try to listen, whoever you're trying to listen. And it's also okay to say, like, maybe today is not my day to listen it in this way. When the topic is challenging your own core beliefs, new facts will feel threatening. Sad example is that some people might think that they are stupid, they are worthless, they're crap. Sorry for the C word. And when there is something that challenges that, when someone compliments you, for a lot of people, the reaction naturally comes like, oh, no, it's nothing, like, it's just like that, That is a good example that, why, for some reason you've been taught to believe that you don't matter. And so it might feel like you're being attacked when someone says something good. And the same comes with whatever you're trying to listen to. Ignore basic needs is also a good thing. If you're hungry, tired, thirsty, or need to go to the toilet, it's difficult to become interested in some topics, or any topics for that matter, because you're just thinking like, can I go to the toilet now? Is this a good moment to say like, hey, I want to do a go. I really need to go. So, take care of yourself first. Self-doubt and blaming. As I indeed said, it can be the thing that when you come here, you might think like, okay, I'm gonna get interested in everything. Now I know, now I'm curious, and then you might feel a bit guilty, like, okay, I can't remember anything. I came to this other lecture that is just absolutely boring and I don't get a grab on it. I'm not good enough. That actually I am going to give a little bit of smashing on the next slide. But it's good to remember that, you can't remember everything. No one can, simply. What matters is that you at least do your best to listen, to figure out what could you learn for yourself, or maybe for someone else who is important to you, mainly for yourself. Yeah, the kitty arrived already. Any questions? Any comments? Any ponders? Any happy little examples of what I may have missed that also is something that I'm not interested in topics if there is this happening? Please do tell.
Just a question that if there would be an interesting topic, but how someone is telling about this topic, I thought there come somehow boring or confusing. So, do you have any tips or tricks how to get most out of that?
So, tips and tricks on how to get out from the topics you don't understand much.
Yeah, or yeah, if the how someone is telling the thing makes you lose interest. Like even if the topic is interesting, but you don't are following it.
So interesting topic, but the person is not easy to follow.
Yeah.
Interesting topic, and the person is not easy to follow. That is actually a point where sometimes a brutal honesty might do the trick. You might be able to say, like, hold on, I can't keep up with this. And the ask is also important. Feel free and feel brave to ask even the questions that you might feel like, oh no, this is why would I ask about this? They think I'm stupid. That's, well, if they say to you that, you're dumb for not understanding, it's actually very much showing off what their attitude is like. The best way indeed to get up is to maybe make them know that, hold up, I am not exactly following what you are saying. And can indeed give example, and sometimes repeating can be helpful. Like, did I understood correctly when you said it like this? And make a conversation from it. Do you feel like it answered the question? A bit, yeah. Does anyone else have good tips what to do in such situations? Yes, please do my work for me. Sorry, no. But yes. This is the one that I want to point out to you immediately because it's ridiculously important to remember beyond everything. That your brain is a garden, it's not a computer. You really can't remember everything. And you don't have a switch that immediately activates, like, curious about this, interested about this, good at this. It doesn't work like that. And whoever said that the human brain is a supercomputer should put a donkey hat on and go in a corner for a moment to think what they said. Because it varies on every day. And you can't remember everything. So it can be also that maybe that person is difficult right now to listen, but maybe tomorrow they might be easier to listen. It's indeed a sad situation in points if you can't meet them again later on. But every day, it's the different things that stick to you. You might not learn one thing on the day before, but later on, it might hit. And also, that's also if you have an argument with someone, and later on, 3 hours later at the shower, you think, I should have said that. Brains work like that. And it's good to remember they do so. And interest doesn't bloom on its own. The plant negative or positive flowers is indeed the starting point of it. So just being with absolute zero, no opinion start, well, that's actually impossible. So let's not even go on that end because there's always some sort of first impact that everyone gives. But yeah. If you go towards things a bit more lightly, a bit more on positive mindset, it sounds ridiculously annoying to repeat it all the time, but it really shows effects. I have later on some practices that can actually help with how to do it. It doesn't mean that everything has to be wonderful and perfect and everyone love each other, if only. But it helps not to start off with like, oh my goodness, what a dumb looking sweater that person has. But it starts like, interesting sweater, what's the story behind it? Learning that kind of mindset helps a lot. And rest. It's indeed important. If you don't figure it on the first try, rest, try it again. There is 4 hours in a day that human brain can consume and process new information, then it needs rest. Simply because we are a garden, not a computer. Complicated gardens at that too. So resting is important. Anyone has any ponders so far? Let's get to the hot topic then. Practices.
Actually,
Yes, please.
when you're in a situation when you just can't put it off to tomorrow, you have to listen to it today, but you have this kind of a not so good brain day, how can you kind of mitigate the problems of that?
I loved the way you said not so good brain day. That's a beautiful way to say it. So if you really have to listen the person today and you are not having a good brain day, what to do? Yes?
Yeah.
If you are lucky, you are able to record what is being said, and then you can listen it afterwards. A lot of my student colleagues, do that. Also, it's okay to just listen as much as you can, and then let your mind go on one hook, as I mentioned earlier. It's okay not to just know everything about World War II. It's okay just to know everything about that specific tank. For example, if that sticks with you on that day, it's okay. It's the society as an institution that has failed you. If they demand that you know everything about everything all the time, it just doesn't work that way. But finding the hook and finding something that sticks. Also recording, that I would advise as a good one. Some people learn by that way as well, a bit better. You feel like it answered the question?
Yeah.
Thank you. There I see a hand.
So, coffee or drugs?
Coffee or drugs? For which purpose?
For fixing your bad brain day.
For fixing the bad brain day. Oh, bad brain day is the rest day, absolutely, I'd say. That is the day when you can take something light on the topic. If you are nervous about upcoming test, but you need to rest, then just do something that calms the mind on that end. You maybe even read comic books about the topic, if it's possible. Find out some other ways that can work a bit nicer during the bad brain days, if you have to. But if there is a chance that you don't have to, then remember to take care of yourself first, because no one else is going to do that for you. It's a sad fact. But yeah, coffee or drugs. That's actually a good question. Which one? Because it's fact that some, for example, ADHD can be really a thing that makes it very difficult to focus. Then congratulations, you are on a wonderful road on figuring out how the brain works and what does it need. Figuring out what works for you, what helps you rest, and also what are your hooks can help you get interested on the matters. For example, the toilet paper. I really don't care much about the sport, but that toilet paper comment was just too good to ignore. Mainly because it gave me a good idea that I want to be that kind of journalist, and I want to remember that kind of questions to ask if I am doing such a interviews as this. Please.
About that 4-hour learning period daily. Any tips on how to mesh that with more than 4 hours of schooling a day?
So indeed, 4-hour learning period and how to fit it in an entire school day.
Yeah, that's usually more than 4 hours.
It is usually more than 4 hours, not to mention the students who have to also work and everything. Then I think it comes to the prioritization. As stated, not a computer. It's good to remember that. And it's okay to figure out that I can't remember this topic. Is there someone you can talk about it with? Is there someone who maybe could explain it in the way that you could? Have breaks. Pomodoro technique, for example, 20 minutes of studying, 5 minutes of rest, rinse and repeat 4 times, have a bit longer break and do it again. Different learning techniques might help with that as well. But it also is, as stated, the society and the school industry especially, it's asking too much from the individual. So figure out, do you want to please the school or do you want to please yourself? Which one is going to stick with you for the rest of your life? I have a wild guess that the school is not going to be there all the time. So learn what you can and be okay if you forget what you can't learn. More? Always feel free to lift the paw up in the air. But alas, let's do a little bit of practices. Well, let's not actually do them right now, but let's figure out how we can do that. Look around you and think one sentence at a time, what you're seeing, and only that. This is a good practice, especially if you have tendency to think bad of yourself. If you walk up in somewhere and see like, oh, there's a dead worm on the asphalt, it's like me, I'm just that useless. It sounds funny, but when it happens every day, it actually gets heavy. So putting a bit of focus on like what you see and just think it, maybe say it out loud, dead worm on the asphalt, then go to the next one, a water bottle in front of me, I am taking a step to the left, a bird in the tree. That's a happy little ADHD, practice as well, because it lets your brain to be you. It lets your brain to observe the environment and observe everything there is without having the judgment in there. Because, well, if there is someone holding a sign that says, you're actually quite dumb, then you can think, a person holding a sign. You don't have to become the text that the person is holding up there. This is actually something I haven't tried. Actually, I have to scratch that. I have done this when I've done interviews, of course. Participate in a conversation where you only ask questions or answer if asked. It's quite tough when you think of it. When you're listening to someone, often it's normal human behavior to be like, oh, I have similar experience with this too. One way you can challenge yourself a little bit is to ask questions about the topic. If someone is telling about their day, you can ask questions like, how did it make you feel? Has it happened before? Or do you want to hear what happened to me on the similar situation? That's also one of the skills on how to learn listening. It's to make it about the person you're listening, not about the person who is the listener. But yeah, ask. Be brave. Ask. I love questions. They're best. And I've poked this topic as well. Find your ways of listen. Especially during here, it can be quite handy to do. You can go to a lecture. You can figure out how differently you listen to a person when you look at them, or how different when you look at the wall. How different do you listen to them when you fidget something? It helps you figure out a bit more on how it actually would work for you. Oh, this is actually one of my happiest activities I do. Anytime I have a bad brain day, I love to go sit somewhere and observe people with positivity or just the reality or the first way, more like. I look at them go and I think, that person wears that coat really well, or that person is rushing somewhere. Hopefully they get there in time. Or that person has a dog. Oh, that's a similar kind of dog I know. And just look at them, make observations, and don't think about the ugly sweater. Think about the interesting story behind it. Maybe it was made to them by their granny or something. It can be something absolutely lovely. You don't know unless you ask. And if they answer, hopefully they would answer. And yeah, D&D mood on. Phone from the scene. It's bad creature. Not Dungeons and Dragons, but the do not disturb mood indeed. It's really easy to have the moments that when you're talking with someone, you feel the need like, oh, I actually could check out that little fact. I'm curious about it. It's something that is okay to do from time to time, but if it becomes, well, if you do it too often, it actually just wrecks more. It takes it aside because the phone it's an amazing library of all the little nooks and crannies and brain fidgets, and it just drags the thought away, and the conversation and the topics doesn't become about the matter of whatever you're talking at that point. It becomes on what's on this little box in my hand, and believe there's a lot of thing in there. It doesn't run out ever. Questions, comments? Well, does someone feel like they could use a little bit more of how to be interested about things, learning?
I have a question about the last
Pew.
slide, about the whole phone thing.
Oh yeah.
Now, I have a role-playing group, and we have various personalities in it, and there are some of us are, I'd say, less than proficient in remembering exactly what they have read. So it is often that when the phone comes out, it's about fact-checking someone else. Is that as bad as just generalized phone usage?
Fact checking during a playing campaign is
Well, just general conversation that most likely is tangential to what's actually happening in game.
Can you ask it a bit differently, maybe? I understood that is it as bad to use the phone or normal conversation as in during the campaigns, for example, for fact checking?
It's more like our games aren't as focused generally with us that we go or we have multiple times when we start talking about something completely different than the game. Then something in the game just we go on a just wild goose chase of the topic, and then we have to maybe fact check what someone was telling, and it's a thing. But is it just like you gave the example of that the conversation becomes about what's on the magic box in your hand? Now, is a fact check checking the facts of what is being discussed different from what you were describing?
Checking the facts during such games and everything, it's tad bit different, yes. However, it is more respectful to let the person who has made some sort of comment to check the fact themselves. It is really good if you, instead of like, I'm gonna check that out for you, it's okay to maybe encourage them. Is there a way that you could find out a way to confirm that fact? That way there's also maybe a bit lower chance of the conversation going on around on the different places, because the one who knows what they're looking for and what they mean can focus on what they are trying to look for.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, I just want to share, maybe that's obvious to you or other people in this room, but sometimes when I got this tip from somewhere, and I found it really useful if I have difficulty following the topic. Like maybe somebody's explaining about a sports tournament, and I don't really even know the rules of the game, and they are explaining the results and numbers and blah blah, and I can't really follow. So then I can kind of try to listen in a different way. Maybe I'm not listening to the detail, but I'm listening to the big picture instead. So maybe, okay, you keep on mentioning this one player's name very often, so is that player actually a very good player? Or you keep on mentioning this and that, so can you tell me more about that? Or something like trying to, maybe not listening to exactly what the person is explaining, but trying to understand what they kind of, how they think about the matter. I find that helpful sometimes when I don't really follow the details.
Thank you. You actually put my show in a very one good sentence on this matter. And you found the hook in there. When there is something that you indeed don't understand, for example, the sports mat, it's a good example, then yeah, what you have learned, recall, I've heard this name before, and might be important, or didn't they lose previously? And yeah, that's how you spark the interest in the topics, and how the curiosity, well, it gets fed into the interest. So thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Have you found any long-lasting interests that you didn't really have any interest for by asking the questions or being a journalist?
Oh, what a lovely question. Have I found anything? My mind is absolutely blank on this, and if I have found anything that has stuck with me, but it has definitely taught me to. Oh yeah, well, the dog's ice cream actually is a good example on that. I did an interview of a person who was selling a ice cream for dogs. It had like minced meat in there. It actually stuck with me a little bit. I tried to experiment with it a little bit about trying to make some for my cats. It was not a hit, unfortunately. But it gave me a bit more wider range of view on what could you actually do, and it gave me a bit of. I didn't like cooking back at the time, but thanks to that, actually, it gave me a little bit of different mindset of thinking, like tapioca barrels with curry flavor. Why not? Also, why? But also, why not? So it at least sparked something dangerous, if anything. Please.
This is maybe related more towards like small talk situations, or like situations where you kind of want to ask questions or get to know someone. I find it sometimes difficult to recognize when a person is like talking about something just to talk about something, and whether they're actually interested in it. And then when I ask follow-up questions, it kind of just like withers away the conversation. It's like they get uncomfortable, like, why did you keep asking me about this topic? So like how to recognize like when someone is actually like just talking to fill the silence, or like something like that.
Recognizing when someone is just filling the silence, it's actually a bit of a sad, subtle art I learned on the book that I mentioned earlier. They are not. It's possible that they are not used on being listened to. So it might be that they just get confused, like, wait, someone listened to me? Now you want to know more? Oh my, what am I going to do? They get confused. So what you're doing is actually something that, please keep doing that. If you can, try to ask as much as you can to make the people feel heard and listened, because we have a lot of speakers. We don't have too much listeners. One mouth, two ears for a reason. But thank you. Feel free to come to me, talk about your interests. I really, I would like to practice my hearing, and I overall just want to hear. I see so many wonderful individuals all the time at the hallways, and just can't imagine what wonderful stories you have. Yeah, tug me on the sleeve. I am willing to listen. And if you...